Good afternoon and welcome to the April Smart Grid Educational Series webinar. I'm your moderator, Irfan Ibrahim of the Bit Bazaar LLC, and I'm pleased to welcome Jean Wang and Dave Moss of People Power, and also Tim Nelson from People Power. He is in charge of their marketing. Jean is their founder or co-founder and CEO. And Dave Moss is also a co-founder. And we will be discussing about customer engagement. We started a couple weeks ago when we had the Green Button Initiative WebEx session with John Teeter and Marty Burns and Matt Teal. And we were talking about how it's important to provide the energy information to the end users so that they're more aware and more engaged. And that can help in reducing the demand for electricity, as well as allow us to use electricity at certain times rather than at other times, so that the load kind of follows the supply of electricity. Previously, we used to depend a lot on coal and nuclear and hydro to provide the base load, and then you would have natural gas peaker units that would help create the shape to follow the load. But now that we're moving increasingly towards distributed energy resources that are intermittent, mostly solar and wind, there is a need to shape the load to kind of follow the supply. Otherwise, you would have to invoke peaker units of natural gas or other fuels that would have very low utilization factors, only to do shaping of the supply to meet that demand. So that would be a very expensive way to go. It's much easier to shape the load to follow the supply. And in that, customer engagement is critical. We've already tapped the industrial and commercial sectors to a great extent by having energy service companies with long-term contracts with commercial and industrial accounts. And they work in tandem with utilities to shape the load in the industrial and commercial sector. But the residential sector has been largely untapped. And the reason why it has been untapped is, A, there are many, many people who collectively form the residential sector, and they have different lifestyles and preferences, different level of awareness of technology. And the second impediment was an infrastructure one. There was just no direct connection into these homes that would allow us to influence their consumption of electricity. There were programs for load curtailment for years, for air conditioning and for water heating and things like that. But those were kind of like one-way type programs. And there was a certain group of people that responded to those, and many others were not part of those programs. And this gave rise to the whole connection of the customer, the end user, to the grid, and the advent of smart grid in the last 5-6 years, and the development of a two-way communication network. And that gave rise to what are called demand response programs, where you would ask customers based on the price or based on a particular event, like there's a critical peak that you're getting to, and you'd get these signals, and based on their preferences, they could decide to turn off certain devices. So we see a big paradigm shift occurring in the residential sector as they're becoming more engaged, and they can change their consumption of electricity to match the supply. This is an area that has gotten a lot of attention, and the Green Button Initiative is one initiative to help accelerate the process of customer engagement by making that information readily available to not only the customer and the utility, but also third-party organizations that may be involved in delivering service. So in this general area comes People Power, that is looking at some innovative ways of enticing customers that have largely been sitting on the fence or just not active at all, in creative ways in which we could use the infrastructure that exists today and devices that exist today in the hands of these customers, but an innovative way of engaging them and then using some big data management and analytics capability, some cloud computing capability to bring new services to customers that would excite them, to have them participate and bring about the necessary changes that we need in the shaping of the load to match the supply, so that we could have deeper penetration of renewable energy without having to invoke either a lot of storage or large numbers of natural gas peaker units. So with that background, I would like to introduce now Gene Wang, who will then introduce Dave Moss and start the presentation. So I'm going to pass the presenter ball to you now, Gene, and it is all yours. Welcome, Gene.
Thank you very much, Irfan, and I will say that I want to also thank you very much for really being a mentor to me and People Power. When we started 5 years ago and you were at EPRI, I remember coming all the time to EPRI and listening to you kind of illuminate some very complex issues as the grid became the smart grid and opened up IT opportunities for serial entrepreneurs like myself. So thank you very much for inviting us today. I'm Gene Wang, and I'm the CEO of People Power, and with me today is David Moss, who is co-founder and CTO.
Hi, guys.
So very happy to talk about how we can use some of the very modern technologies to bring the smart grid into a position where all of this infrastructure that we've been deploying can be really leveraged. People Power is an end-user engagement company focusing on clean tech opportunities, but in a way that really will make sense to normal people who are everywhere, who may not think very much about the smart grid at all. And in fact, it's a gigantic opportunity. In 2013, we spent about $358 billion on electricity. However, about 880,000 jobs were lost through kind of not properly deploying energy efficiency techniques, which represents about $44 billion in lost wages, according to this very interesting paper on consumer engagement programs and smart energy efficiency strategies for our nation's electric utilities. So it's really a big opportunity to both bring good jobs back to the U.S. As well as save money and redeploy our assets in a much more productive way. Now, of course, the inconvenient truth is that consumers don't care much about energy. They don't think about it. They are not going to do a lot to make the small changes that will result in energy savings. You really have to make it so simple and easy that they can get their heads around a foreign concept such as energy efficiency. You know, most consumers are really still in the mode of you flick on the light switch and the light better turn on, and you know, if it happens to stay on even while nobody's in the room, well, so be it. So this is somewhat of an inconvenient truth, especially to our company several years ago, when we discovered that all of this great technology that we were building was not really catching on. And there is some good news, though, that we can work together with the energy industry to really bring about some meaningful changes. And in particular, if we take a look at this consumer engagement programs versus technology installation programs, we can see here that with consumer engagement programs, as compared to technology installation programs like installing, more efficient light bulbs, thermostats, so on, we can see that just by focusing on consumer engagement, we can see a 1,200% increase in household participation rates. We can see a 21% increase in annual savings per customer, and we can see the lifetime cost per megawatt hour go down significantly. So it is definitely something that is well worth pursuing. As Irfan said, while there have been inroads on the commercial side, on the industrial side, really the residential side, the biggest piece of the pie really is pretty untouched because of some of the challenges. And there have been some great strides forward by some companies that are really helping consumers become more aware of how their energy spend compares to, for example, their neighbors. But really, there are some incompatible notions to do with, I am always connected. My smartphone is in my pocket or my pocketbook 24/7. I'm really on the internet. I'm staring at my mobile phone all the time on the one side, but on the other side, really needing to wait for 30 days or up to 60 days to get feedback on how my actions relate to my energy bill. I have a bad dog that lives with us, and as we were training the dog, I would realize that when the dog had an accident on the carpet, you have to be right there and say, no, don't ever do that again. If you waited 30 days and then went over and said, no, do not do that, that would not lead to any kind of good training result. So really, it's very important to, as you engage the consumer, to do it in as real-time a fashion as possible versus, how you did, more than 30 days ago. So this chart that hopefully you can see really shows this graphically. So on the far left, we see that, in fact, with enhanced billing, which is becoming widely used now, and this is basically with your monthly bill, which people don't really read all that much. You kind of just pay your bill. But if you give comparisons to, for example, how you're comparing to your neighbors, you actually do see a meaningful decrease of maybe 3.8%. I think O-Power is actually claiming 1 to 2% savings through adopting the very nice O-Power feedback strategy. But then if you go on the other side, the far extreme, the right side of the same chart, if you do real-time kind of, fairly near instant feedback down to the appliance level, so that you can, for example, see, gee, when I turn on my dishwasher, here's how much energy I spent. When when I actually measure my home entertainment center, this is how much energy I spend, and even when I'm not watching it, I am spending money. This kind of feedback can lead to dramatically greater savings, maybe 3x what enhanced billing on the far left can lead to, through real-time granular feedback. So this is based on 36 studies implemented between 1995 to 2010. So what we have discovered as a company focused on user engagement is to get people to really care, to get people to really focus on energy spend. First, you have to put it right on the little computers that everybody carries around these days 24/7 in their pockets or in their pocketbooks, and this is a smartphone. It's got to be mobile phones to go along with their mobile lives. It's got to be really engaging, and it can't just be about energy. It's got to be about connecting people with the people and things they love the most. Their bad dogs, their good kids, their elderly relatives. And the energy management has to be an important but secondary value proposition to what they deeply care about. And then finally, it has to fit into the consumer's busy lifestyles. It has to become a habit that is built in to, you know, when they're at home, when they leave home, when they come back. It's gotta be something where it's something that they are concerned about, that they're worried about, that they're thinking about, that fits into how they are running their lives. And we are really gaining some deep insights around these energy engagements through a number of energy pilots that we are running with energy service providers from coast to coast, actually. And being from California, I used to think that the West Coast was California. Actually, there is a place in the U.S. that has beautiful coastline and is even farther west. So we're really kind of from coast to coast, from Hawaii to Cape Cod. And let me tell you a little bit about what we're doing in Hawaii. So People Power was very happy to be selected by the Energy Accelerator Program to work with utilities such as HECO and Hawaii Energy, where we are rolling out Presence Pro Energy along with some connected devices in about 1,000 homes, half of them roughly, or maybe under half of them being military housing, as well as civilian homes. We're really starting on Oahu and then moving to other islands. And we're really focusing on reducing energy spend while engaging customers in compelling user experiences in sticky kinds of ways that are forming new habits for them to be able to do things like comparisons, win points, engage the community in this one-year pilot. So a few observations about Hawaii. In Hawaii, electricity is 3 or 4x what it costs in many other places in the U.S. So therefore, being a very fossil fuel dependent state, Hawaii's clean energy goals are super aggressive. And they have determined that energy efficiency, or the generation of megawatts, is the quickest, simplest, and cheapest way to control energy use. As you may know, the generation of 1 megawatt is about saving almost 2 megawatts of power generation. So it's really a powerful approach. The Hawaii Clean Energy Initiative is really leading the way to reduce Hawaii's dependence on oil, focusing on a 70% energy reduction by 2030, 40% from energy efficiency, and 30% from renewables like, solar, where I think they have one of the highest penetration of residential solar in the U.S. So we're very, very excited to be working on this 1,000-home pilot in Hawaii. We also are working with the Cape Light Compact, which is an energy efficiency company serving about 200,000 people in Cape Cod, Massachusetts, another wonderful beach town. So if there's anybody on the phone who is living in a beach community, we definitely want to talk with you, because not only are we interested in energy efficiency, but we really like to surf as well. In Cape Cod, we are rolling out in about 600 homes and small businesses, again with Presence Pro Energy, as well as hardware devices, so that we can actually inform the users in real time what they're spending and what they can do about it. So this is really Cape Cod. If you're familiar with this beautiful neck of the woods, it's 21 townships in Barnstable County, where we're really working on promoting efficiency and social engagement. And actually, Cape Light has had great success and really understands how customer engagement is key and how real-time feedback can dramatically improve energy efficiency far beyond what you can get with this kind of more slow feedback that is not really surfacing on the devices that you're carrying around with you all the time. This, again, is a 1-year pilot with a 2-year extension. And in Massachusetts, really, there are real mandates to implement energy efficiency programs, as there are in most of the country, where really we are working to make this available eventually to across Massachusetts, starting with this Cape Light Compact partnership to advance the interests of consumers in the newly restructured electric industry. Now, a few weeks ago, we heard from John Teeter, Marty Burns, and Matt Teal about the very, very exciting industry-led but White House-sponsored initiative called Green Button. And we are, as People Power, very proud to be having a leadership role in driving this important industry standard. We really believe that that consumers have the right to access their energy information. And, when you, for example, fill up your car with gas, you know how much you're paying for that gas. You know how much gas you've put in. And this is far less easy to figure out with your electricity. People Power gave one of the first demonstrations of Green Button data coming to a handset. And really, we are also focusing on turning all of this data into actionable intelligence through data analytics because the end user, in fact, does not want to just get a spreadsheet with a whole bunch of numbers in it. You know, that's pretty meaningless to consumers. But really, what can they do about it? What should they be doing? Are they over or under their budget? And you know, turn all of this data into knowledge. So now what I'm going to do is turn this presentation over to David Moss, our CTO, who is going to show you what is Presence, give you a demonstration of both Presence as well as Presence Pro Energy, and discuss the command center and our platform underlying the system.
All right, thanks, Gene. So, as Gene was saying, we found very quickly that people really don't care about energy, and we have created a solution that starts first with something that people really deeply care about, and that is connecting with the things and the people and the pets that they love and want to keep track of. And we came up with Presence, and it is a free app that is available today on the Apple App Store, and the video portion of this will also be coming on Android. It turns spare smartphones and tablets into free Wi-Fi and cellular video cameras that you can basically pull your old phone out of the sock drawer and download Presence, connect it to Wi-Fi, and now you can keep track of all the things that you want to keep track of. So actually, let me switch over to the camera, and Gene and I can say hi in person here. And
hi there, everybody.
What I'm going to do is actually position my iPad mini right in front of the screen here, so you can see this, and get it lined up here. So what we're looking at here is Presence running on my iPad mini. And as I was saying, Presence starts with a free video camera. So basically turning your spare devices into free Wi-Fi video cameras. You can see the green squares on the screen here are actually where it's detecting motion. So what that means is when motion is detected by Presence, it will capture a video and it will send it to you. You'll get notified on your phone. You'll be sent an email, and then you can watch it live in the app. You can actually watch this feed in real time as well. Let's tap into Gene's camera here, and what we'll see here in a moment is a camera pop up that Gene has at his front door. So there's Gene's house, and usually his bad dog is sitting here in the window. We can keep track of the dog, but there's also the ability to have a two-way conversation with Presence. So once you're watching live, maybe you want to talk to the other people or the pets on the other side, and you can have actually a face-to-face conversation because your spare smartphone or tablet has a display on it. So let me actually show you a couple other things with this app. When you record a video, you actually have your videos pop up right here, and you can scroll through both the carousel, and there's a timeline down below that we can scroll through our videos and really keep track of the moments that truly matter to us. Now, a lot of people are using Presence because they worry about things. They worry about their pets. They worry about their babies, their elderly relatives. They want to make sure their kids got home from school on time. They want to make sure that no one's stealing things from their house. And Presence today is being used all over the world. We've caught robberies with this. We have solved a lot of problems through this app. And another thing that people worry about, though, is the actual infrastructure of their home or business. How much am I spending? Am I losing money? And that's where we add in other devices. So Presence expands beyond just the free video monitoring capabilities to actually monitor things like your home. So here's Gene's house right now, and in real time we can see how much his home is spending if he was to continue at this rate every month. So we can see that both in terms of dollars and cents, which people actually get, and also in terms of watts. And then we also have the ability to control this. So in addition to whole home monitoring, here is like a smart plug, for example. that we can turn on and off, and we can actually see how much it's spending in real time. So I just turned on Gene's front light, and we see now his light is consuming $6.14 a month if he were to leave it on. And we can also take a look at, for example, what does it consume over time? We can actually tap in and drill down into the data and see how much we're spending. Now, I don't think it's good enough, though, to manually control things. You know, it's nice, but what you really want is your home to be automated for you. And we have integrated into our platform a tool that is called JBoss Rules, and essentially it's part of the analytics layer that we have in our cloud, and it allows us to expose some rules in our platform. So you can actually automate and orchestrate your home through this rules engine. So let me actually walk you through creating a rule. It starts off with a very intuitive if this then that sort of interface, and we can say if I go away, then let's make my front light switch off and turn off the entertainment center, make my entertainment center switch off, and let's make sure that my iPad's motion detector is enabled. So I'm going to enable motion detection there. So I've just created a rule, and you can see it's a very intuitive, very natural language sort of interface. And you just hit save, and there we go. It's ready to rock and roll. Our app also includes the ability to expand your home. So what we see in a lot of these pilots is we start off with a bundle of devices and services, and then we can allow those participants to buy more as they please. So right here in the app, we have this store that features a lot of the compatible products that plug right into our system. Things like, here's a Monster smart plug. You plug it into the wall, you plug something into it, and now you have full control over it. We also have things like this is a Kubi. It is a robotic tablet stand, and we see a lot of people using this today to, especially with elderly monitoring, you want that face-to-face interaction. This device here is a Galileo, which is super cool. You plug your iPhone into it, and then you can actually swivel it around and look around your house. And so if the dog is moving around, you can follow the dog around, and it's very, we see a lot of people using that, especially in combination with pets. So anyway, and then in addition to all of this end-user facing technology, there's an end-user web console that goes along with this. But let me tap in now and show you some of the command center and more of the utility or energy services company facing side of things. And on that end, we have, so when you're starting an energy services or customer engagement program, what you first need to do is identify the group of people that this really resonates with. And like Gene was saying earlier, that a lot of people don't get the whole energy thing, and their lifestyles aren't compatible with it. And even deeper than that, you really want to make sure that if you're deploying this type of technology into a finite set of homes, you really want to select the people who are going to resonate most with this program. So we've done a lot of firsthand customer research, and we've really honed down different personas, and in fact, just a handful of personas that really we're looking for who will resonate with this program. So we start by with a survey type of mechanism that allows a utility or a services company, energy services company to filter out the people who this isn't going to be totally effective for. We can group people into like-type groups and begin performing comparisons for them, both on behalf of the utility and on behalf of the end users who want to see how they stack up against people in real time. And not just your whole home, but down to the appliance level. Like how much is my washer and dryer consuming compared to my neighbors and things like that. We have targeted energy tips, which can be recommended both by an administrator of the program as well as the end users in the program. So for example, if you live in a particular zip code and you find that something works well for you, then you can give that tip to other people in your area. And there's a voting mechanism which brings out the best tips for your neighbors. We have a messaging mechanism which allows the administrator to message out to the users and other users in a group to message to each other. When data comes into the platform, whenever you're dealing with energy data, there's sometimes errors in the data, spikes or sometimes missing elements. We have some data error correction analytics in our platform that will identify these issues and just correct them automatically. One of the most powerful features that we found in our consumer engagement programs was the ability to detect if a person is home or away. And on the mobile phone, you have that ability through several mechanisms. One is GPS, another is the new iBeacon technology out of Apple. You can actually detect if a person is there or not, or multiple people in the family are home or not, and map that to their energy consumption. So you can show them, well, here's how much you're spending while you're away. You thought your house was powered down, and guess what? It's not. But also, when you go away, we should power down your house automatically. We should turn on the motion detectors and so on. And then also frame all of this fire hose of data in terms of actionable intelligence, basically looking at how much savings and how much savings we can project for you if you continue with your pattern of usage, or how much will you spend if you continue on this pattern. And then overlaying on top of this, we have a points and rewards program where you can get points simply by being engaged. At the most basic level, forming the habits to open the app and check on your house and look at your energy consumption, or even look at your cameras that you have inside the house. And as you're looking at your cameras while you're away, you can actually see how much your house is spending. Those things start accumulating points. And as you pledge and you declare that you're taking steps to reduce your energy consumption and engaging with the community through this platform, you get more points. Those points can be either totally virtual, or when funded through the customer engagement program, can actually result in real monetary benefits for the consumer and for the people engaged in the program. And then finally, recommending products to the people in the program that might help them more, giving monthly energy reports, also sending alerts when your house goes out of bounds. There's lots of alerting mechanisms in here that gets people aware of how much they're spending and what they need to be taking action on to reduce their load. So all of the data in our platform, and you see we're doing a lot of video stuff, and all of this is very sensitive information, and we handle it that way. We have a 2048-bit SSL connection that's actually stronger than a standard bank-level type of website security, in that we do two-way authentication with the devices. And of course, as the data is stored in the server, we have encryption mechanisms there and authentication mechanisms as any of this stuff is retrieved. So we essentially act as a custodian for the data and see the user as the owner of their own data. Finally, our platform is developed in a way that allows other developers, other companies to hook into it and add to it. So we call this the IoE platform, which stands for the Internet of Everything platform. And it's really cool because we've opened up all of our interfaces to this platform. So anyone who wants to can actually retrieve their data directly out of this platform, and you can hook up more devices to the platform underneath. And for a manufacturer or a developer who's interested in doing this, what's really cool is you can hook up a device and it instantly appears in the mobile app, and you can begin interacting with that device. And then, of course, you can customize those UIs as you go. But it's a very powerful solution that we've created. And you kind of see it laid out here, where I view our platform as having 3 layers to it. The bottom layer is the connectivity layer, which is protocol agnostic and brings in data from down below, and then unifies all of that data into a common language that gets piped into our analytics layer. Now, our analytics layer is, as I was describing in an earlier slide, really taking that raw data and turning it into something useful for people. And we have the ability to plug in analytics to that. So it's not just if this and that sorts of analytics and business logic. It's really looking at the data, looking at trends and projections and so on. And then finally presenting that out the top through command centers and expandable hybrid Android and iOS apps that can expand dynamically as new features are added underneath. And then also a permissions layer, so if you want to share access to devices and things like that with other people, you can. And I'll turn it over to Gene at this point.
Thank you, David. All right. So hopefully you now have a really good feel for what we are doing. Again, the Presence application is free. So if you have an iPad or an iPhone, please check it out on the App Store. Our vision at People Power is really to help energy service providers by giving them what they need to really understand their consumers and treat them as customers and not just ratepayers, really allowing to figure out which consumer segments are capable of really saving the most electricity and cutting their energy through energy efficiency programs, and then really helping them get there with meaningful reductions in cutting energy waste. And also at the same time, of course, giving consumers what they really want, which is to be more connected while they're away, to understand what's going on inside their homes, to be able to check in on their kids and their pets and their loved ones, and to really do it all within their busy lifestyles in a way that's very simple for them, in a way that's engaging to them, and in a way that helps them save money while living the kind of lifestyles that they're very interested in living already. And if we can work together to do all this, then consumers will care, because we can align the needs and requirements and goals of the energy service providers who are really desperately trying to move into this new paradigm of the smart grid, while also positioning this in a way that normal people everywhere will really gravitate to, will really find of great value, and will be accessible from the pervasive, most popular consumer electronics device today, and that is the smartphone. So David and I both want to thank you very much for your time and attention. We hope that we have provided something of value, and we'd be happy to take any questions that you have at this time. Irfan, I'll let you take it from here.
Thank you very much, Gene. And at this time, we will entertain questions from people online. Feel free to type them on the chat window, and we'll read it out, and then we'll go from there. So I'm going to take the presenter ball back from you, Gene, at this time.
Okay.
And, let's see some questions coming from the folks online. And this was our first opportunity to use this WebEx feature of sharing a desktop and then running a webcam, and I think it went quite well. So thank you, Gene and Dave, for being the pioneers on Smart Grid Educational Series to do motion video during the presentation.
You got it.
All right, very good. So let's see some questions from the folks online. If you could just enter it in the chat window, then I can read it to Gene and Dave. So let me ask you, while people are looking to submitting some questions, the case studies that you have with the utilities and energy service companies, can you comment a little bit on the shifting of their minds as you engaged with them from the skepticism to the optimism? Can you share some of that experience? If you want to name the customer, you can. If you don't want to, that's fine. But tell us how they went through that process when you first engaged with them and as you continued until they started seeing value of your service.
Yeah, well, I think the people on the Cape actually had gone through 2 phases of customer engagement programs, and really what they determined is some of the important characteristics of a successful customer engagement program. Again, it really needs to be a real-time feedback loop in terms of energy consumption, and also it really needs to be community-based. So if you can get the community leaders to buy in and spread the word kind of in a bottoms-up basis, and you can get a lot of energy around energy, should we say, that really can make a difference. So they actually have been working in their 21 counties with kind of energy geeks who really believe in energy efficiency and have aligned their own values with the values of this program. We actually, by reaching out to these community leaders, that can really turn people around. I think that actually the previous learnings from earlier pilots really helped in this regard, and really mapped very well into what we were doing at People Power. I think in terms of Hawaii, Irfan, I actually commented already some on the Energy Accelerator program, and this is a program funded out of the real necessity to reduce costs. So one of I've mentioned kind of the 3 or 4x kind of cost per kilowatt hour that they are experiencing in Hawaii. One of the secondary, or I don't even know if it's secondary, one of the real driving concerns, particularly in the military families, and I'll let David comment on this since he actually went and did a big customer discovery project and met with a lot of these people. But they are moving. Of course, there's a large set of military families in Hawaii, and a lot of this funding is coming from the Office of Naval Research, and the military families are starting to shoulder the burden of paying for their electricity, particularly if they are in the category of spending more than the average. So this is causing a lot of heartburn over there in Hawaii, and so there is really an urgency to providing some tools and techniques and doing so in a customer engaging way to kind of calm the fears, tamper down the anxiety, and move into a more energy efficiency mode for many of these military families in Hawaii who are busy people just like you and me. A lot of things on their mind, young kids to take to soccer practice, and households to run on not big salaries. And so I think we have been overcoming skepticism quite a bit by explaining how this can be very useful and actually deploying systems in their homes that are actually working and very easy to set up, so that people can kind of buy into this whole concept.
Okay, great. We have some comments and questions. I'm going to go over them quickly. First, Robert Cormia of Foothill College says, this would fit into our energy curriculum with the goal of impacting behavior, not just educating about energy. So since you are in Palo Alto and he's in Los Altos, I think you can just go down Highway 280 and talk to each other.
Absolutely, Robert. And you know what? In fact, we have been working with a couple universities already. One of them is not even in the United States, and they find this stuff to be really interesting, both from several different angles. In fact, of course, there's a huge psychology angle of this, behavioral psychology, and in fact, at People Power, we work with social behavioral psychologists from Stanford, Arizona State University, and other places to help shape some of the program. But then, even from a deeper technical perspective, like electrical engineering or software, being able to start with an energy-consuming device and having access to that data, and then seeing what else you can add to that through the platform that we've created. And so we see universities interacting with us in lots of different ways, and we'd love to talk with you about that.
Yeah, we'd be
and
very.
You had an opportunity to meet each other in person, I believe, at the Green Button Initiative seminar.
Yes.
Yes, and I remember you were asking and making a bunch of great comments. Love to follow up with you directly. So I think you could just email us. My email is gene@peoplepowerco.com, and we can get together.
Great. Next, Farshad Salimi asks, what kind of energy monitoring equipment has Gene installed at his home and connected to their application?
Yeah, so we have a number of energy monitoring systems. One of them is the Blue Line Innovations meter reader. This is something that turns a dumb meter into a smart meter. And essentially, it is an optical meter reader that can be installed without an electrician. It does take a little bit of a steady hand and takes a few steps, but essentially this is something that slides over the glass plate and then either reads the spinning disk or the pulse and communicates that wirelessly back to a bridge and then through the customer's, in this case my, Wi-Fi router up through the cloud and then back down on the other end to my mobile phone. So David was showing how I can tell how much my house is spending at any particular second in time, and we store all of the data. And then we also do things like we can tell you, gee, I wanted to spend less than $150 this month. Am I red light, meaning I already spent more than that? Am I yellow light, meaning that I am at risk of going over budget? Or am I green light, meaning that I'm really in good shape? So we have these very nice algorithms that we can layer on top of those devices. Go ahead.
This is David. We've also connected to several different types of thermostats. We've been testing out a couple at Gene's house, and that's really cool because then it's not only energy savings, it's also comfort. And so we have some technology in our back end around that. There's also smart plugs of several different flavors, including Wi-Fi. This one that you saw we were demonstrating today was a Monster Central power control You plug it into the wall, you plug something into it, and it has the easiest out-of-box experience of any internet-connected device I've ever seen, because we designed the out-of-box experience. And we also have DC and AC lighting control, so fluorescent lighting. And this would really be more for a building, but you know, we use Gene's house as a test bed for a lot of this stuff. So that's more communicating over Zigbee to a Zigbee bridge, and we can control this, you know, through our apps and portals. It would take solar from the roof. Gene actually doesn't have solar on his house, I believe, because the guys said that your house wasn't a good fit for the solar or something like that. But anyway,
yeah.
It would take solar from the roof, and it would also take AC from your mains, and then be able to power your fluorescent bulbs directly, so without going through an inverter and all the line losses there. Anyway, yeah, just a whole slew of products we're playing with.
The TED.
Oh, and the TED. So yeah, you know, that energy detective product, and actually they just came out with a new product called TED Spider. So it'll do circuit level monitoring. I get a little nervous. You know, I've got an electrical engineering background, and even I get a little nervous opening up the breaker box and jamming screwdrivers in there. But so a lot of times this is installed by an electrician, but that particular product is especially relevant to places like Hawaii, where they want to know, how much is my hot water heater spending? How much is my air conditioning spending? So we're playing with a lot of these different types of products here.
Right.
Great. Thank you. Okay, so next we have Marty Burns says, when you say Hawaii has triple energy costs, does this imply that solar can pay back there without subsidies?
Well, I think that the reason, one big reason why solar panels, residential solar panels, are incredibly popular there is because of those high energy costs. Now, they are offering some subsidies in Hawaii, which also further drives adoption there. And I think, you know, the utility is really having to deal with just a very large, you know, an abnormally large percentage of residential solar panels. But you know, I think certainly solar makes that much more sense because of the high price per kilowatt hour.
Right, but also what we learned is solar really only applies to the people who have houses out there. So there's actually a lot of people who are renting apartments, who are tenants, and just don't have the benefit of solar at all. So that's another interesting area to dive into.
Another interesting thing is there are a lot of people with solar panels that really are not connected. In other words, they're basically solar panels that are heating a water heater, and that's all it's doing. So it's not really, you know, smart grid. It's not really being metered and that type of thing. It's just.
It looks like Hawaii may be a good opportunity for entrepreneurs seeking community solar type programs because of all these apartment people. Just like you have crowdfunding, you could have companies come in and provide solar panels in some central location that people own or lease in that farm, so they don't have to have it on top of their head, and they don't even have to own their own property to do that.
Exactly. And in fact, we saw that a lot, at especially some of the military housing, a lot of solar panels on the roof, and when we asked, you know, let's meter your solar, and they said, oh, the solar doesn't even go to our house. It's actually collected up by Solar City and distributed elsewhere. So using the housing for now as a solar generation farm for other locations.
Yep. And it's a very good way of allowing the distribution company to divide their distribution infrastructure costs across many kilowatt hours as opposed to having a bunch of net zero dwellings, because then they don't know what to do with that fixed cost that they have.
Yeah.
All right. Robert Cormier comes back saying, it's a perfect living laboratory. Please come and see us soon. It fits into our SVEW Energy Champions grant.
Great.
So, yes. So that's, and the whole Foothill College is, as Robert mentioned a couple of weeks ago, a very future-thinking, very progressive campus, and it's kind of becoming one of the showpieces for the California community colleges on what they can do with energy management. So, and Robert is plugged in to that think tank at Foothill and De Anza College, looking for innovative technologies and improving customer engagement. All right, so Robert goes on to say carbon counting plus energy monitoring. All right. And then another one, let's see, going back up onto the chat window again. Let me minimize this here. Okay. The chat window, Ted Bone says, are there any users applying this to monitor EV charging progress / usage?
Electric vehicle charging monitoring. So our deployments have been in homes so far where there actually haven't been electric vehicles. So we haven't actually seen anybody do that yet. However, the monitoring devices that we have hooked up to our platform are capable of connecting into those types of EV chargers.
Yeah, and if you have an interface with Smart Energy Profile 1.x, then you can just take the data from the EV chargers that are SEP 1.x compliant and then take it into your realm.
Yeah. Right, and you know, the platform that we just designed, as I described earlier, is meant to be protocol agnostic and connect into these different protocols and standards using what we call connectors, and that's how we obtain a lot of our data from a lot of different sources, whether it's an end device or another cloud on the internet.
Great. Next, we have Marisa Maya, who asks, how do you access the smart meter data? I'm in Northern California, so do you get the data from PG&E? Do you use any industry standard data model? And I think you mentioned, Gene, that you have that optical eye on the meter, so you're not using PG&E's traditional data distribution method, correct?
Well, we are you know, big proponents of green button. So we're really trying to help move the world into green button connect my data, and we see that as the eventual way that we can access that smart meter data, or you know, a consumer can access their own data. However, as David mentioned, we are using these meter reading devices, such as the Blue Line Innovations meter reader, the TED meter reader, to fill in the gaps of hopefully something that will be a transitional phase, so that we can access the data without really, you know, waiting for the utilities to make that data stream broadly available.
One thing I would say is that while the Green Button Initiative is very good and it will accelerate the creation of energy management programs, but I think it's important to have multiple sources of energy data available. And the main reason is, in the future, if there are cybersecurity attacks and there's data fuzzing going on as part of that attack, having multiple tools that can collect the data and validate it becomes a way of building resiliency against such attacks. Next, we have, let's see, the Murthy Divakaruni asks, the selling point is really around convenience and safety while saving time and money, is it not?
Yes, I think that's a reasonable way to think about it. People are really trying to improve the safety of their family and their valuable things, as well as have the convenience of bringing it onto their smartphone, also giving them control to do things like, like, for example, one of the nice things that I do is turn my home entertainment center off at midnight every night and then turn it back on at 8 a.m. and I save a third of my standby power consumption every single day. And then I can also set up rules that also limit my kids' ability to sit in front of the TV and become couch potatoes. So it is kind of a convenience and control and safety and energy savings all rolled into a smart home service offered from your smartphone.
Yeah, and I think when it comes to the Internet of Everything, it's not good enough to just optimize an outcome. So it's not good enough just to say, oh, I'd like to have my coffee made before I get out of bed. People do things and take action because they feel bad about something. And this, you can see this across the industry. So when you feel bored, you go to YouTube. And when you feel lonely, you look at Facebook and you look at your email. When you're curious, you go to Google. When you're worried, we have the only prescription medicine on the market for when you're worried. You can check in on your home through Presence and be comforted by the fact that you can observe what's happening there, and then also know that your house is performing as it should and not wasting all your cash. So there's a deep negative emotion that drives people into opening up and coming back to a solution that we've developed here at People Power.
Yeah, and we attended a conference a couple of months ago called Smart Energy Summit, where the researchers there really showing a lot of data, which basically could be summarized as saying, people would like to, cut their energy waste, but it's not one of their top concerns. So they want it easy, they want it, very straightforward, and they want it as part of a larger offering that includes, some of these other things like safety, convenience, tie them closer to their kids, tie them closer to their stuff that they really value and care about. Some of the things that we have been able to do with Presence include, just when you go on vacation, you don't have to worry about your house so much while you're away. When you're at work, but your kids are supposed to come home by 3:30, did they or not? And now you don't really have to worry about that as much. So I think and it's also kind of a community-based type of system where, for example, if you're worried about somebody in your family, you can just kind of, as a family, check in and make sure that they're doing fine. So helping each other along and that type of thing. That's how we're aligning to really offer energy efficiency in a very, very palatable way to people in a way that fits in with what they're worried about anyway.
Wonderful. So as I look at your presentation, I get the following points from it. One is that a lot of the lack of interest of customers in energy management is also the lack of access to information that makes sense to them. And if you make that information available in meaningful ways and fun ways and ways in which they can be innovative and add to it, then their level of interest will increase. The second thing I saw from your presentation was that if you use traditional tools that customers already have, but use them in an innovative way, the way you can use your smartphone as a webcam essentially, and use robotics to move it around and create situational awareness in the house. This type of innovation of using traditional tools and getting new functionality out of them will also excite them and re-energize them to get back into this area. And the third thing that I saw was that by creating a modular platform in which the individual's modules could be swapped out as they become obsolete, you are protecting the investment, and you're not causing forklift upgrades every time you want a change in functionality in any one of your 3 layers. So this modular architecture is almost like a best practice that you're recommending to the industry to separate the particularities of the hardware from the higher layer concepts and architectures. So let me hear from both Dave, you, and Gene if I captured your 3, what I would call highlights of your technology in your presentation today.
Yeah, I think that was a good summary, Irfan. Certainly data alone is not useful. It really needs to be tossed through some analytics to make it, to bring out the points that the user can understand and make relevant. And a lot of people are excited about pulling out their old phone and turning it into a camera, basically recycling something that they thought had no value to them at all. And there are millions of these assets around our communities that can be brought back to life. And then certainly the platform that we've created is designed to be enhanced over time. And it really comes, all of these things combined, brings it full circle to creating a solution for end users that real people get. It's not like we just take a bunch of technology and dump it in someone's lap. It's more about understanding their lifestyles to the degree that this fits into their life, and we can identify the people whose lives it fits into, and make that investment to get them to save energy on behalf of the utility.
Yeah, and I liked your summary very much too. This is Gene. Just a couple of follow-on comments to your comments, Irfan. So by repurposing old smartphones as people upgrade to new ones and offering something for free that they can get going with, this is really a great way to get a lot of people excited. In the last quarter of 2013, in the U.S., we bought 48 million iPhones and iPads. That means there are 48 million kind of old devices that have been upgraded away from in just those 90 days. So that's like 500,000 devices a day. And what you can do is you can breathe new life into these devices and make them really useful again, and kind of in a way that can fit into people's lives and save the money. So it's not that people don't want to save money. Everybody wants to save money. It's not that people want to, hand over a world to their children that has massive climate change problems. It's that we're not making it easy for them, and we're not making it inexpensive for them, and we're not packaging this in a way that they can easily adopt it. So that's why I think when we first introduced Presence a year ago, it just started taking off like crazy. And at this point, we've delivered over 3 million video alerts. We are used all around the world. Our app is, 10 times stickier than the typical lifestyle app on the App Store, and that's because it's really helping people fill voids in their life that can be, delivered on their smartphones. So on the other side, I think we're talking about energy service providers who are already, in some part of their organization, responsible for delivering on energy efficiency. They're already doing things like, rebates on energy efficient appliances, light bulbs, thermostats, and so on. And they're looking for approaches that can really boost engagement, which is something that they have not had to worry about for a long time. So as we are moving into this new era for the utilities industry, really having these very welcome solutions that people are flocking to already, that actually can generate megawatts and reduced energy waste. It's just a really good time to do this. So
that's wonderful.
Very excited to connect with anybody who is interested in this kind of solution that we're working on here at People Power.
So I would recommend a new product in your suite called AppSense, and you can point to landfill.
Exactly.
All right. So now, on that humorous note, what I'd like to do is thank you both, Gene and Dave, and also to Tim for a lot of the messaging and the development of this material. So thank you, Tim. And also, I would like to invite you on May 8th for our next Smart Grid educational series, when Anto from PointView, Anto Budiarto, will be talking about social networking and the electric sector, and he'll be describing this capability that he has brought to not just to the electric sector, but multiple industries in a way that is very unique, very innovative, that takes from the themes of LinkedIn and Facebook and others, but more focused on industry events and being able to network with people who go to events and be able to form groups to do productive work without requiring physical presence. And I think you will really enjoy this presentation. It is truly disruptive in the social networking space, and you will begin to see its applications in the electric sector. I will be sending out an invite for that. And so now, once again, thank you, Gene and Dave, and thank you all for coming and participating in the discussion and listening to Gene and Dave's presentation. I hope you will stay plugged in to the Smart Grid educational series and let other people in the industry know. This, as you know, is a free public service. It's an information sharing forum that allows you to see some of the cutting edge technologies as well as looking at the issues. We spend quite a lot of time talking about issues, but I'm also trying to mix in some solutions so that we don't feel like we're just in some kind of theoretical void and not connected to reality. So Gene and Dave, thank you so much for showing how some of these higher level initiatives that are happening at the national level can be translated into real technology and that can enter people's lives in a very real way. So with that, I will now end the recording and enjoy your afternoon, and we will regroup on May 8th. Have a good day. Thank you.